So last year, I took a sick day from work, headed straight to the mall, and picked up a physical copy of Marvel's Spider-Man 2. While I was at it, I grabbed a frappe to complete the experience. When I got home, I turned on my PS5 Slim, opened up the game case, and yes, I took a good whiff of that new disc smell. You know the one? All PS5 owners get it. Then I popped the disc in, dimmed the lights, and ordered a pizza with a side of Coca-Cola to set the mood right. By the time the pizza arrived, the game was ready to go. First thing I did was dive into the settings, dialed in the HDR, confirmed the haptics on my DualSense, and locked in performance mode for that smooth 60 frames per second at 1440p with, get this, full ray tracing. Then I was off, swinging through New York City for the next 5 hours straight, having an absolute blast. You know what I didn't do? I didn't spend time checking system requirements or going on forums to figure out the best settings for my rig. No fussing over why my RTX 4080 was hitting 100 FPS but still stuttering or tearing, then hitting the forums again for fixes. Alright, so here's the scoop on why Spider-Man 2's PC system requirements are actually a huge flex for the PS5 Pro. You know how with every PS5 port that comes to PC, we get a sense of how powerful the console really is, right? Well, Spider-Man 2 might just prove that the PS5 Pro can hold its own against high-end gaming rigs. I'm talking setups with RTX 4080 level graphics power. That's pretty wild, especially considering the PS5 Pro is a $500 console. Here's what I mean. When you look at Spider-Man 2's expected requirements, they're split into 3 levels: minimum, recommended, and ultra. For minimum specs, the game is actually fairly light. They predict you'll need something like an NVIDIA GTX 1650 or an AMD RX 580 with an i3 processor for 720p gameplay at around 30 FPS. Definitely doable for older PCs, so it's pretty standard. But if you want a nice, smooth 1080p 60 FPS experience, that's where the recommended specs kick it up a notch. Here, we're looking at an RTX 2070 Super or an AMD RX 5700 XT, both decent cards that can handle a lot. This level should be perfect for 60 FPS at 1080p with decent settings. But here's the kicker: Spider-Man 2 on Ultra is no joke. For Ultra settings, they're predicting you'll need an RTX 4080 or AMD RX 7900 XT with an i7 processor, which is high-end PC territory. If that's the hardware needed to match the PS5 Pro's 4K quality with high frame rates, then the PS5 Pro is definitely delivering incredible performance for the price. And while some PC players might have setups like this, they're far from the majority, since the cost for a similar PC setup is over $2,000 USD. The PS5 Pro manages to do this on only 16 gigs of shared RAM and an efficient custom SSD, where PCs might need up to 32 gigs of RAM to handle everything, especially for the quick traversal and detailed open world in Spider-Man 2. So, yeah, if you're looking for a more budget-friendly way to get high-end 4K gaming, the PS5 Pro seems like a solid pick that's pushing console power further than ever. And as for the PC port, Nix's, the studio behind it, has an excellent track record. They're almost certainly going to include DLSS 3 and FSR for extra smooth gameplay on lower-end GPUs, but that just highlights how optimized the PS5 Pro is with the PSSR tech. All in all, Spider-Man 2's PC specs seem to confirm that the PS5 Pro might not only be a console powerhouse, but could hold its own against some of the best PC setups out there without breaking a sweat or your wallet. Alright, so here's what's new in the Spider-Man 2 update for the PS5 Pro. The game's been updated to take full advantage of the PS5 Pro's hardware. Insomniac Games' latest update for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is live, adding support for the upcoming PS5 Pro. Performance Pro is the default for the console, targeting 60 frames per second and enabling all ray tracing features, including ray-traced water and window interiors. The image quality also matches Fidelity mode, thanks to PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. There's also Fidelity Pro, which targets 30 FPS and features increased pedestrian and traffic density alongside increased hair detail. It also exclusively features the new RT reflections and RT key light shadows toggles. The former renders at half the resolution for improved performance on medium, while high delivers full resolution reflections and smoother reflection animations. The latter replaces cascaded shadow maps, delivering ray-traced sun shadows. It can be turned on or off and offers the most impact in cityscapes. With VRR and 120Hz display mode options, players can effectively tune both options based on their frame rate preference. Finally, there's RT ambient occlusion. Turning it off improves performance, while medium augments screen space ambient occlusions, and high ads, screen space global illumination bounces. Here's a crazy story. 2 new concept art pieces have popped up online for a PlayStation game that sadly never saw the light of day. This game was a big project from London Studio, a long-standing PlayStation team that Sony closed down earlier this year. London Studio was one of PlayStation's OG teams, starting way back in 2002. These guys were known for their wild, creative ideas and for pushing PlayStation's tech in unique ways. They gave us games like SingStar, iToy, and PlayStation VR Worlds. And they even worked on PlayStation Home, the virtual world Sony had back in the PS3 days. But unfortunately, after over 20 years, Sony decided to shut down London Studio in February 2024. Before closing, London Studio was working on an ambitious live service game for the PS5. The game was supposed to be a co-op experience set in a fantasy version of London, full of magical creatures like fairies, orcs, and elves. They showed one official image in 2022, but after that, things went silent as the game got canceled with the studio's closure. Now, some new concept art for this game has surfaced on a former artist's profile online. The images are impressive, showing a London that feels both magical and futuristic, kind of like Blade Runner with a fairy tale twist, neon signs, creatures, and all. It's a real shame we'll never get to see this game fully come to life, especially since a unique look can be critical for success in live service games, where art style often helps the game stand out. The reason behind London Studio's shutdown isn't officially clear, but fans think it's because Sony might be cooling down on its big live service game plans. Other similar projects got canceled too, like a Twisted Metal live service game from Firesprite and The Last of Us online game from Naughty Dog. Seems like Sony may have rethought their strategy with live service games for now. There's an undeniable beauty in PC gaming. When you've got a powerful rig, you can tweak games to run at or above 100 FPS, especially with older games that you can enhance through mods. That experience is pure magic, and I'd never take away from that. But I've hit a point where, like a lot of people, I just don't have the time or interest to tweak every game setting. I want a straightforward, reliable setup that offers crisp 4K at 60 FPS without the hassle. And for $700, a PS5 Pro feels like a steal. Now, I'm not trying to diss PCs here. In every video, I emphasize this. If you can drop $2,000 on a PC, can outperform a PS5 Pro in countless ways besides gaming. Plus, newer games are going to be optimized more and more for PS5, just like we saw with the PS4's latter years. Games like Uncharted 4, God of War, The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man 2018, and Ghost of Tsushima, all masterpieces on hardware from 2013. Those titles still impress in 4K on PS5, and even the PC ports are praised for their beauty. Consoles have truly leveled up. The thing is, the $700 plastic box narrative misses the value for console players. Sure, even $1,500 PC might handle certain things, but it'll likely start feeling obsolete by next year compared to a PS5 Pro. With consoles, you're investing in a longer shelf life without constant hardware upgrades or compatibility checks. It's either a $2,000 PC or a PS5 Pro if you're looking for high performance. You can buy a $1,000 PC, but with the rate at which games advance, that's not going to hold up against the Pro for 1 second. I've seen people trying to build a PS5 Pro killer with a RTX 3060, and in most cases, ran all PS5 ports worse than base PS5. Every time I saw a PlayStation exclusive running on PC and seeing how much more power you need to run the games at the same levels of base PS5, it just confirmed to me how strong and well optimized the PlayStation brand is. You guys really forgetting that just because you have Windows and so many things running in the background besides games, you need more RAM, more CPU and GPU power. How is that so hard to understand? Yes, you will run some games better than on the PS5, but you'll also run others worse. Why is so hard for you to understand the architecture of the console. The RAM and GPU and CPU are unified on PS5 and PS5 Pro, which means they communicate so much better with each other. PS5 uses 1 gigabyte of RAM for running its OS in the background. Why do I know more about PC hardware than all the angry PC fanboys? Because I love all tech.